Welcome everyone to the second discussion about Komodo's tokenomics revolution. This will be centered around KIP0002, which is going to be based around the consensus changes that we want to discuss about making to determine our future at Komodo. What is it? There's three main points about KIP0002. One, I just mentioned, is consensus changes. So that will be changes to the, potentially changes to the algorithm that we use. Are we continuing with DPoW? Are we switching to a proof of stake? Are we adding a master node overlay network? Or, some variation or some idea that the community may have, that hasn't been presented yet. The second part has to deal with economics. And, what is the purpose? What are we trying to accomplish economically with this proposal? And the third is future considerations. So consensus changes. So why are we considering some consensus changes, to our current system? The first main reason is continuing our supply side tokenomic adjustment, which we started with KIP0001, the active user reward reduction, which passed and should be implemented following the next hard fork. The second point is to fix outstanding issues. There is a little bit of an issue that I am aware of with block times whenever there's pool switching that occurs. So regardless of the consensus mechanism that we inevitably choose, that's one issue that we have to address as part of this change. And the third is to bring up the discussion of governance and to try to get the community to participate more and to be able to actually have a greater say in the decisions going forward. So in the initial KIP0002, I guess you would call it announcement, there were several placeholder choices. There were these four of them were proof of stake with a block reward reduction, sorry, notary node system like we currently have with a block reward reduction, a master node style system, presumably something like Dash, or four, we keep the current system that we have right now. And at this point, I really want to hammer, home that, these decisions are really, it's up to the community, right? Like, we really want to hear everyone's input, to talk in our channels, debate with other community members. I know with the first proposal, there was some concern that it was being rushed forward or wasn't adequately debated. So this time we're trying to fix that complaint and really continue on with further decentralizing our government process. So the supply side adjustment. So as most of you are aware, KIP0001, the active user reward reduction was passed, and this reduces the active user reward from 5% a year down to 0.01% a year, which is a massive reduction in the emissions. This will inevitably help us as we have currently an outstanding large coin supply, and it is extremely difficult to overcome the emission of new coins at such a low price. So following on to that, KIP0002 proposes a block reward reduction from 3 to 1 in several of its choices. This is meant to further decrease the coin inflation. If this passes, and along with what happened with KIP0001, the coins emission per year will only be approximately 580-some thousand coins, which is a massive drastic reduction of over 90% from what we currently have. Now, this we have to, as a community, figure out kind of like the sweet spot where we need to keep their network incentivized, but at the same time have a low enough emission rate that bringing in demand will overcome that, and then further raise the average price floor of all the coins in our ecosystem. And third point, as I kind of was trying to mention on, is the increase of the probability of a price floor rise. With such little coins being produced, that inevitably coins that were already produced will have to be purchased off market, and doing so at a price that exceeds the cost of production further raises the overall price and gives us more stability in terms of price in the markets. So some of the outstanding issues that this proposal wishes to address, one I mentioned was block stalling. Sometimes after the 64 notary nodes, mine, it switches to a free for all, and then pools switch over, and can cause delays of in the minutes up to like an hour I've seen even before. So this is definitely something that we are looking to solve with this proposal. The second thing is the Atomic DEX tie-in. So tying in DEX functionality to the KMD network. One of the ideas that is being looked at and will be experimented upon later this year is to tie the order relay network directly to the KMD network. This makes it that KMD actually has a technical purpose within the atomic swap system, which is kind of one of our overarching goals, is to merge our atomic swap work in with the Komodo network itself. And the third point is decentralization. We want to not just make this like a team type of thing. I think that's been one big problem in the Komodo community that we need to kind of work on and decentralize the choices for different proposals and such out to the community. But we have to figure out a way to do this that is sane, and that all parties involved are equally represented in that process. Doing things such as incentivizing nodes stuff could increase decentralization as well on the network level. So combining that, our increasing decentralization with our governance and how we what changes we choose to work on and go forward, and as well, so on network level is definitely a prime priority for us. Okay, and governance. So as I mentioned earlier, that I've heard throughout the years, several complaints about governance. There's been complaints about the one coin, one vote system. There's been proposals for other types of systems like one person, one vote, which also has its issues. So along with this kickoff a discussion about KIP0002, part of that discussion is like, how do we make the voting system more fair? Like, how do we ensure that people who are voted in have fulfill their responsibilities and such? And because this could be an issue of, like, for instance, if say a notary node dies and somebody has to take over a spot, like, what is the process? Like, we don't have a lot of these things very much formalized. And additionally, as point one here, our proposals, like, we have just kicked off this Komodo improvement proposal system, and it's in its very rough state. We are definitely looking to formalize that into a process, and we would like the community's guidance on that. And already kind of talked about the second point, the voting system improvement, with looking into various ways that we can do elections in a more fair manner. But the third point is dispute resolution framework. So if there is a problem, either amongst notary nodes or in the future if we have master nodes or some sort of DAO system, we need to kind of set the rules in place on how a dispute is brought up, how it gets resolved, and so on. So this is another talking point that will be associated with the KIP0002 proposal, that will be important in the future. So the economics behind this proposal. One of the main considerations for raising prices, you got to raise the average price floor. It means basically that the average cost for which a rational actor would not sell. So it means typically their purchase price. In the crypto world, there typically is additional speculative element, but that would only hold so far. So for our purposes, just the cost of acquisition for them. In a proof of work style system, this is primarily based off electric costs, and a proof of stake system of the purchase price of the coin. Both have their pros and cons in regards to how it affects the market price. Electric costs, for instance, it's kind of a factor outside the control of most people, and there's a I don't want to say conflict of interest, but kind of between raising the cost per coin produced with electric consumption versus the miners want to keep electric costs low as possible. It's not a bad thing. We understand that that miners have self-interest, right? Nobody's doing charity work here. But at the same time, if raising the overall cost requires more of that initial electric consumption to be able to sustain and grow. Proof of stake, it's kind of similar, but it's based off the market purchase price of the coins, which in our current system we have a lot of outstanding coins, and hence why we need to raise the average price for. This can be controlled a bit better, but it is still how should we say fickle, because the controlling of this would be based off of users kind of magnanimously not selling a certain price to further raise into the future. We've seen this with success with various proof of stake coins. However, there's a limit to success. It's not infinite. And both systems benefit from increased participants, which should be kind of obvious. Like if there's a finite amount of pie, like that would be the equivalent of a block reward. More people vying for that, then there's less to go around, which makes each piece more valuable. So kind of common sense right there. So feature considerations. Okay, so feature considerations that we have to think about. Now this will ties into KIP0002, but we'll inevitably have its own more in-depth discussions, and that is surrounding the concept of identity in blockchain systems. Currently, there are some things that we have to be concerned about. For instance, one potential issue that was brought up by a team member, is that possibly the use of ChatGPT to pump out notary node candidacy, profiles and try to Sybil attack the notary node network. Now, that is definitely an issue, and will be an issue that will continue to grow. Due to the hands-on nature of the notary node network, and the security-minded people that participate into it. I wouldn't say this is the highest issue that we have, but it will be a recurring issue, and it'll be an issue that keeps growing. Additionally, Sybil attacks can be found if we go to a masternode style network without the appropriate things in place to prevent one actor from essentially taking over all the nodes, or a majority of the network rather. And this also can affect a proof of stake system as well. The second point behind identity is to tie in identity to functionality. Now, when I say identity, I don't necessarily mean in all cases like you have to reveal your person, right? That could just be something as simple as like a public key whitelisting, but that would access additional functionality. And this, I believe, will contribute to the demand side economic considerations, which also will have its own discussion in the future. The next 2 points, membership, kind of ties into functionality, but one of the things as a community and we need to discuss is like, what does it mean to be part of the Komodo community? And to design benefits and things like that to basically define who we are, what makes us different from another community, and how do we show that. And the last point, this point is going to be something that a lot of people might not want to hear, but in the future, pretty much almost certainly there's going to be considerations that need to happen in a legal sense. Now, majority of this will have to be handled by app producers, but even right now, I believe it was Wasabi Wallet, they're currently analyzing UTXOs to make sure they're not from a blacklisted source. There might be other things in the future that need to happen as well, with like the Office of Foreign Asset Control putting additional requirements on products. Now, so having our own identity system rather than being at the will of a third party one, I think is kind of being proactive to the issue. I mean, obviously, we don't want to collect anybody's stuff if we don't have to, but it's something we do have to be concerned about, and it definitely warrants some community discussion on what's appropriate, what's not, how far, like what current issues are that people face in different countries. I know the EU currently is looking at this type of identification requirements for even unhosted wallets. So it's something that it's not just like a US based thing. I know often I get accused of being too US centric, but this isn't even a US one. But I envision the US having the same issue very shortly. Typically, either the EU or US is the first one to start on it. So, yeah, I believe this concludes right now my short little presentation about getting KIP0002 discussion started and what we can do as a community, what we need to talk about, and decide going forward. About 1 month from now, hopefully there will be many discussion in the meantime. I plan on having another meeting more discussing the specific proposals to be voted upon for KIP0002. So be on the lookout for an announcement for that. And if there's any questions, I can take them, but that kind of wraps up my discussion.
Yeah, thanks, Polly, for the great presentation. So anyone can come to the stage by requesting that and make a comment or ask a question. There's also the chat, so you can ask your question there or make a comment.
Yes. Oh, and before we hop into that, I would like to bring up one thing. The next notary note election is coming up soon. So be on the lookout. Make sure to participate to vote in that, or submit a proposal to potentially vie for a spot. It's a community project. Everyone should be involved. So just making everyone aware it is coming up shortly. So be on the lookout.
Yeah, indeed. And there's the second event this week on this coming Thursday, hosted by P2IX on Twitter Spaces. And we have invited all the candidates and notary node operators there to introduce themselves, and we'll be talking more about the election. So yeah, be sure to come there and meet everyone. And if you're a candidate, then yeah, be sure to come and give your pitch. So LBD Chit asked what is the best choice for team and why? Not totally sure on what you're referring with the question. Are you meaning like what is the best, like what is the team thinking about the proposal? And maybe you can clarify.
Oh, okay. So what does he think we should do? So it's kind of up in the air right now. I'm not like unlike the KIP0001 proposal, I'm rather neutral on this. There's uh, there's pros and cons to the current system that we have and switching to something completely new, both in time, effort, and effectiveness. So, um, yeah, so right now we're kind of just, at least myself, just standing by and seeing what the community brings up the discussion. If it's rather lackluster, I have some ideas I could push forward, but I also don't want to, you know, kind of try to be accused of railroading anything either. So I personally would like to see the master nodes of the initial basic choices that we had, but it's like I said, I'm pretty neutral on all selections. I would like to hear what the community has to say before even assigning what the choices are for this proposal discussion will be.
Yeah, I will second that. I don't really know what various team members are thinking, but I do think it's pretty neutral. And for myself, yeah, I'm just looking to learn more and understand the choices myself and what this all means. Like I have at the moment like no actual opinion about anything regarding this.
Yeah, there's been some I've heard, some pro notary node, system opinions and some questions if we were to switch to our own proof of stake style system, because um, for people that have used it, it operates quite differently than our than most other ones. So if we were to do something like that, it would have to probably be some sort of custom system, because it might kind of work against us if we used our own type of system right now. If people aren't aware, it's like broke down 64 different, like, I don't want to say networks, that's not the right word, but seg IDs. I think that's the correct term, and like you assign it per each ID, and it's very different than most proof of stake systems, so I don't think it's good for user adoption. That's one of the things we do want to target with this consensus change is to increase user adoption. Do I think the U.S. will catch up and eventually get rid of cancerous actors like Gensler and Co? Yeah, I think. Well, yeah. Right now, the U.S. is it's friggin' clown world. it's it's I think that you know, Gensler with his recent being torn into by Congress is definitely a good sign. But I don't want to get my hopes up. I don't think that the existing systems are gonna crypto exist in a way that is so antithetical to what they're all about. So we have to figure out a way to be more symbiotic in our relationship with how the rest of the world works. I know this isn't what a lot of people would like to hear, but my number one goal, for how I make decisions and pushing forward things is survival, right? We can't survive if we're gonna, be the target of every government in the world. So um, there's some fights to pick, but we need to get to the point that we have a good chance of winning before we try to make waves, in terms of the traditional world.
And we have a comment from artist in the chat saying that the plans sound promising, giving investors and stakeholders a sign of relief in terms of incentives. Thanks for the comment. And yeah, keep the.
Oh, sorry, Audit.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, keep the questions coming. Use the chat or raise your hand. But there's no other questions right now, so I'm gonna ask you, Polly, a question. What in your mind, like, what are the best examples about proof of stake crypto projects? Like, what are the success stories that we should be looking up to when thinking of this proposal?
Yeah, so proof of stake has a couple of peculiarities. We see certain, like the SEC, for instance, possibly looking at delegated proof of stake systems as a, possible securities violation. Now, this wouldn't be an issue so far as um, like the system itself, but more the individual user who is promising, a portion of the rewards to, the people who delegate to them. That's still unclear, at least in the U.S. courts, and I know other nations feel differently. Um, so, like the delegated proof of stake system, we have to take a look at. It has been very successful. I would say a lot of projects like using that. So, if we were to do something like that, we need to figure out um, you know, figure out how to do it legally so that people, don't face any issues, and we as a project don't face any issues as well. Traditional proof of stake style system could work, but there's issues to take under consideration, like a nothing at stake attack. However, with our, I guess we call it sister project, Varus, they have developed a way to prevent that, so it might not be so bad. Um, it could also work as we still keep our notary node system, but that 25% that currently is being mined could switch to like a generic proof of stake style system. Pretty open on the different options and what others might suggest. We just have to figure out the best path forward because it's not as clear cut as it might seem. Like, uh, I wish we could just say, "Oh, we'll go DPoS and be done with it," but um, it's looking like there might be issues with that that we currently do not have with our notary node system. So, like I said, we're open to hearing what types of proof of stake systems people favor, and kind of making a decision based around that. So in about 1 month, we will start deciding what the initial choices will be. So please start discussion about this with our community. I'll be mentioning, I'll be bringing it up myself. We might even get a separate room going possibly for this discussion because it's going to be very big. We have a good bit of time to figure it out. The plan isn't to launch this till the 2024 election, so it's going to be a bit. What is the timeline for integrating KMD use case into atomic DEX? So there's a couple things that we're currently working on. To make atomic DEX kind of production ready. One is the advanced swap mechanism. The other is kind of a reputation system, both of which are mentioned in our roadmap. After these things are done, we can go forward. So I would say 2024 is when we're starting to do the KMD use case within the DEX. I can't. It's hard to say when exact time frame for things because it's kind of hard to predict the future. But the idea, we have a couple ideas. One part of which is burning part of the KMD fees. The other is a preferential fee rate. Um, for use in the DEX, so you'd be paying cheaper fees. I believe this could be a very good use case. We're still hammering everything out there. There's some considerations such as with the DEX revenue and how to handle it, legal manner. Uh, I believe it's realistic. Uh, as I mentioned in our first video, we're really going for a wallet first approach, and you're driving users to the wallet, which then in turn drives to the DEX, and having these KMD use cases in place by the next full round, I definitely think is realistic. And we have some other things that are also being worked on that will further enhance our attractiveness to the general populace. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff in the works. Charles brought up, we've got some cool stuff going on mobile. Yeah, there's a bunch of things. Like I said, with this wallet first approach, really hammering this out and make it production level, is kind of the big priority here, and mobile especially. Today that's what majority of users use, and especially we plan on targeting a lot of areas where mobile is definitely going to be their number one, if not their only form of accessing crypto. Will there be trading competitions in the future here? I believe so. One of the things on the biz dev side that we're working on is how to do things like competitions, giveaways, and sweepstakes, that type of things in a more consistent, fluid manner, and in a way that generates revenue as well for the company that builds the app. So to mitigate costs and such. So yeah, I'm gonna say yes to that. But we're in the process of currently formalizing how to do that in a more streamlined manner instead of ad hoc like we've been doing it.
Okay, time for last questions. Type them in.
I do not. Okay, so LPDZ asks, did the PBAAS 1.0 release have some benefits from KMD? I don't believe any directly, but obviously being a Komodo ecosystem project, we're very happy for them. It's definitely a big milestone, for them. And not to mention, many of them in the KMD community also hold Barris, so I'm sure they benefited from that.
Okay, well, I think this is gonna bring to the close the Q&A portion. So yeah, big thanks, Polly, for presenting and answering all the questions. So this was a great kickstart for the discussion. And the last question is gonna be, can you describe kind of the next steps and what the community can do and what they specifically should be thinking about or looking into?
Sure, yes, that's a good point right there. So the specific call to action for between now and I'll be hosting another meeting like this next month, is to bring up the different forms of consensus that you guys are interested in, why you're interested in, amongst each others in our public chats and general specifically, and begin debating about such. So that we can kind of have inspired discussion, and then from that we can lay out at the next meeting. I'll bring up a bunch of the ones that I've seen that people brought up, and we'll lay it out and kind of set begin to set what the choices will be for this consensus change. Like I said, the change is time until 2024. The next, not this upcoming notary election, but the following one. So we have some time to debate, about this. So yes, just bring up the consensus mechanisms you like. Why you like them. If somebody brings up one that you don't like, debate on it. I mean, this place is be open for intellectual debate. So don't feel that you have to keep your thoughts a secret, and even if you want the system just to remain as is, bring it up and put forth your reasons why, and we'll take this all to consideration. Like I said, I'll aggregate everyone's thoughts, and we'll use that as the basis to start designing the choices.
Awesome. And I think it's a good idea that we're going to make like a dedicated channel for this discussion, as this is super important for the future. So I'll be making a channel for the community hub category, so you will keep an eye out for that one, and we can continue the discussion there. And yeah, look forward to the next presentation from you, Polly.
All right, sounds good. Have a good day or evening, everyone, and we'll speak soon. If you have any questions to come up later, I'm always around. You can just drop them in the in the general channel or shoot me a DM.